Operation Status Quo. Operation Status Quo. Prepare to engage. Operation Status Quo. Ready to engage. Operation Status Quo. Engaged. Engaged. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Operation Status Quo here on Tuesday, the 2nd of May, in the good year 2023. I like the way that's like a nice little rhyme. Tuesday in the month of May. Hey, hey. I don't know. I lost my rhymes after that. So we got a couple rhymes, and that's good. Hello and welcome here, Operation Status Quo. I am your user-friendly host, Pete Palma. Of course, here on Operation Status Quo, we observe the status quo going on out there in the world. We learn to flow with the quo because you got to kind of flow with the quo a bit. But then, of course, we have the ability and freedom and choice and intuition, whatever you want to say, to choose our own flow of quo. All right. So today we have a special show. I'm very happy to welcome my brother back for another episode here today, intuitive healer and such. And we're going to be talking about herbalism and the beautiful healing power of plants and all that kind of stuff. So let's bring him on. There he is. Hello, Mike. Little round of applause for Mike.
Hey, Pete. How you doing?
Good, good. Mike Palma of Personalized Wellness Solutions.
Hey-o.
And just to say before we even get started, Mike's contact information is in the description box below. So feel free to reach out to him whenever you like, because you'll be so enthralled and you won't be able to wait to get your hands on some of these dandelions or whatever else we're using out there. So how you doing, Mike?
Good. I can't complain. I'm having a good day. How about yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Of course, for me, it's always a beautiful day here in sunny Florida. I hope up there in the Northeast corridor that things are. Is it a nice day today? We got some sunshine a little bit.
A little cloudy, but we got a long.
It seems like it's cloudy for like 6 months a year. You got like 2 weeks of no clouds. I remember those days. No, I'm just teasing though. So, Mike, an interesting topic today. Of course, people have heard of this in some regard, but just speaking, as far as medical stuff goes, or healthcare, or your own personal self-care, I kind of want to say herbalism, I guess, is a really important factor because of all the natural healing properties of plants and such. And again, we always talk here on the show about how, the powers that be really don't want us to realize not only how powerful we are inside, but also how abundant and powerful the earth actually is, and how it, everything is really synergistic in the sense of providing for what we need, no matter what your ailments may be. So I'll just let you get into it a little bit and speak on herbalism.
Yep. Herbalism uses plants, roots, and tonics to heal. And the essence of herbalism is to use Mother Nature in a symbiotic way for healing. And I would say it is the most ancient form of healing with energy work that has been passed down. It goes back to China, India, Jamaica. All the countries in the world have used some form of herbalism. You look at Ayurvedic medicine, you look at traditional Chinese medicine, they're all based on these philosophies. And it was only until the 1900s that plants were synthesized with chemicals to then be considered drugs. So drugs, as we see it today, that we take to be so common, have actually only been around for 120, 30, 40 years. So
right. I think that's the most interesting, not to cut you just real quick, but that's the most interesting concept of it all, is that really all this stuff was being used all the time for all kinds of ancient, civilized, intelligent cultures, not until, like you just said, the 1900s or so, when all of a sudden they flipped a switch on that.
Right. So that's what's so fascinating, and that's the message that I want to get out to everyone is sometimes we feel that plants, roots, and tonics are not as effective, and they're more of a throwaway or something to use by like folklore, or something to use your grandparents. Is like, it's not a big deal, but try this. We look at a chemotherapy, radiation as these high-tech, advanced technologies. But in essence, the cure for everything has already been there, and it is there. So we say we're looking for a cure for cancer or hypertension or diabetes and high cholesterol. But these already have been found, and they've been found in nature.
Right.
But you never hear that on the mainstream news or the mainstream medicine or even in the educational systems. I have a degree from Rowan University in health and exercise science, and I was never taught any of this information as I went to school.
Right, right, right.
So I have a degree, a 4-year degree, and wasn't taught this. And also, if you were go to a doctor and ask them to try, for example, there's a therapy called Gerson therapy, and Gerson therapy uses carrots and supplements to cure cancer. And the gentleman who did it was Max Gerson, who was a doctor, and he has over 50 cases of clinically proven people reversing cancer naturally. However, if you went to a doctor and suggested to eat carrots for every day, they wouldn't subscribe to it. They wouldn't believe you, and also they wouldn't be able to give it to you or validate it because they could lose their license. So it's kind of, in essence, not to say information suppressed, which it is, but also it's you legally they're not allowed to use it.
Isn't that a crazy concept? I mean, just the thought of that, right? Something like a plant. We legally can't use this plant because we can't like they can make some concoction in a lab with a gazillion chemicals, but and they could say it's safe. Or even when they put the drug commercials on TV and they may cause this, that, the other. Check with your doctor. Don't take it with other medications. Your liver's going to explode. Everything else they say, but they're worried about using some turmeric or something, which is growing out of the ground naturally.
Correct. And the other important part that you just said about that is that once again, plants are synergistic, and our body knows what to do with them, and we have a relationship with them, and they clean out our kidneys, our liver, and our blood. So it's a win-win situation. Not only are you getting healed, but you're also detoxifying your body. But at the same time, when you take medicine or natural medicine like prednisone or stuff for cholesterol like statins, aspirin, for example, they actually cause the liver to be toxic. And also, if you take too much aspirin, for example, it's been proven that you can put holes in your stomach.
Yes, I've definitely heard that for sure. Yeah, I
So,
don't even have aspirin in my house. Isn't that crazy? I mean, think about it. Like everybody's, medicine cabinets and stuff. They got all these kind of things, and I'm just realizing I don't even have. If I ever had a headache, I never even would even think of taking aspirin.
yeah, and what's so fascinating is that aspirin, like every drug that we have, comes from a plant. So the idea that we've come up with some miracle drug is really a misnomer, because if you look at it, like, where does coffee come from? Coffee comes from Caffeia plant, and aspirin comes from a willow bark. And Hippocrates, who was the father of medicine, prescribed that. And then there's like asawanga, which can be used for stress management. And then you have like black seed oil or flaxseed oil, which could be used for cholesterol, antimicrobial, anti-cancer, all things to help your body get rid of viruses, bacteria, and mold.
Right. And what's interesting too is just like the one thing you said in the beginning. It's looked at as a kind of a secondary or a throwaway thing. If like if somebody has cancer, be like, yeah, I'm doing my chemo, but I also, I'm taking, whatever. I use turmeric or ginger, one of those type of, I'm taking, a couple milligrams or a pill of turmeric, or they're doing one little thing like that in conjunction, and then the doctors will always say, oh, that's great, if you're doing that, but they would never say, well, let's focus on that compared to focusing on the chemo or the traditional methods of what they do.
Correct, and that's because they've been indoctrinated too. It's like sometimes you're too smart for your own good. You memorized all this information, but they've never questioned, where does this information come from?
Right.
Chemotherapy was designed and used from mustard gas that was used in World War I and II as a chemical warfare. And they found that it kills people, obviously. And so what they did is these companies wanted to find a way to, after the war was over, to make money, because everything in our life stems from money, power, and control. Mm-hmm. So they wanted to find another way to make this product available so that they can make more money. And so they found that, in essence, it'll kill, tumor cells. But the reality is it kills all cells.
Right.
So yeah, it'll kill tumor cells, but at the same time, it'll kill everything in your body. So that's a really important point. So it's really based off of money. That's unfortunately the real issue. People will say, well, why would they do that? People only have our best interest at heart, but unfortunately some people don't have our best interests at heart, and we have to realize that corporations are only liable or responsible to the people who have ownership into it.
Yeah,
And
like
so
their shareholders and stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
correct. So only goal is to make sure that they make more money every year,
Oops.
not that they help people.
Yep.
And I know that sometimes people don't can't believe that, or that's possible, or people don't think like that. But unfortunately, there are people who do think like that.
What's interesting to me too is just that in general, people like, if you get sick, they wouldn't even try. I mean, like say the doctors, how they're indoctrinated and just kind of taught to regurgitate, this symptom, this medicine type thing. But, people themselves are not even like aware of, as an example, like, I was out for my walk yesterday, and as I was walking, they were going around caring for the lawns that they do here in the neighborhood. And the guy was on this little truck that they drive around, and he's just with this thing, and he's just squirting all over the grass where it looks like these, weeds are growing and stuff. And it was something I saw. I don't know where I even saw it. It was like a couple days ago or last week. It made me, when I saw this guy spraying the weeds, it made me think, because, I was seeing stuff of like, how certain what we call weeds in your garden or lawn are, actually important plants, or actually have very beneficial attributes to them, but we consider them like, oh, it's a weed, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what makes this a weed? Because I see stuff growing out here sometimes that they would call a quote unquote weed, but it doesn't look ugly. It's not killing anything. Like, like, why is this a weed?
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I mean, if you look at dandelions, for example, like they're considered weeds in certain ways, and dandelions are a great purifier for the blood and for the liver. So, each plant has its own unique properties, and, who's to say that weeds in general don't have their own properties for healing?
Right.
And that's the power of juicing, for example, right? That's why, when you juice vegetables and you put them in their raw state, they clean out the blood, the liver, the kidneys, and they help detoxify the body. And that's a huge, important point in the polluted world that we live in today. And if we don't have some form of detoxification in our bodies, there's no way we can be well. And that's a hard statement for most people to grasp. Because most people aren't have some form of detoxification going on, and so illness starts to slowly accumulate. And what it's called in medical terms is acidosis. And acidosis over time leads to muddled thinking, tiredness, fatigue, hormonal imbalances, weight gain. Everything is derived from us basically rotting from the inside out like an apple. So
Right.
if we don't take some form of detoxification, then there's no way in the culture that we live in that we can live a long and healthy life if that's something we're interested. As you notice, the most average person by 50 or 60 is already starting to really have some major issues and not feel like themselves. So if you want to live to 120 or 100 or to a long life, you have to have some form. And that's why if you look at if you look at our grandparents or people who really like dealt with nature and ate, healthy and ate from the ground. And I mean, because really that's the way we always ate. It's really only recently, right, since the Industrial Revolution,
Yeah.
microwaves and processed foods have even come in. I mean, before everybody just ate naturally from the earth. Everybody were naturally herbalists in a way, right?
Right.
So, I mean, every grandparent, either use garlic, ginger, or turmeric, which is a great antibacterial, antifungal, anti-mold, it's anti-cancerous properties. And so we were naturally using this the whole time. It's only recently, and like I said before, in the early 1900s that we come out of that. And if you come from a family who doesn't have I'm Italian, and so we have had generations of being raised by our great grandparents, so we have that history. But if you're someone who doesn't have that history and you're just born now, then you wouldn't even know that that's possible.
Yep. Even that one time, some years ago when I had the opportunity to spend a little time in Italy, and I was in that small town with my friend's family, and it was just really an interesting experience because everything they had was I mean, their whole yard was just growing. Everything we ate over there was fresh out of their gardens, even the meats, which is not, herbalism, but, still, but even the meats were whatever, for lack of a better word, slaughtered, right that day, and they were fed natural foods,
Yeah, because like cows, for example, are supposed to eat grass. And when you had like mad cow disease, they were feeding cows like other cows to eat.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How it came to be. And if you look at it now with COVID and everything, we have the mRNA vaccination. So they're trying to now, they want to make sure to keep going with the vaccinations and make money because they made their most money ever with the COVID pandemic. And so now they want to use it and justify that to put it into our cattle. It's already been put into our pork since 2018. So any pork you eat already has an mRNA vaccination in it. So so even if you didn't get the vaccination, it's in the food you're eating. So it's,
people might say that's a conspiracy theory.
that's factual information you can look up if you go to Google and you Google it. That's
Well, you don't have to convince me. You know that. I'm saying it tongue in cheek.
I know you are, and I'm just stating it for the audience to let them know that that's just factual information that's out there, and there's always this pull and take, and that's why I always suggest for people whether you eat meat or don't eat meat, because big into the holistic environment, and especially herbal is, do I eat meat? Do I not eat meat? Do I eat protein? And I won't get into all that, but the main point is that like you should know your butcher, you should know where you're getting your produce, you should know where all your food is coming from. I mean, the best thing ultimately is that we grow our own food from our own resources, and we grow them in a local environment, because when things are shipped or across the world from China or from Jamaica or from Chile or from anywhere else, they have to usually they'll pick them before they're ready, and then they might even put a chemical in there so that they ripen once they come. So for example,
yep,
pick them green, and then they put a chemical in there so that they turn red.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they do the same thing with the beef too, and they inject it with whatever to keep it red. I mean, because really the oxidation kind of starts, and the beef really kind of turns brown, even though it's not going bad, But I'm saying if you go to the store, the beef looks this bright red color. That's not really the natural color.
Yeah, that's even with fish, like for example, farm raised fish, because it's farm raised and they're not living in nature. Like salmon, for example, go upstream, and that's how they develop their omega-3, 6, and 9s. It's from their physical activity and their environment. And when we put them in a pool, or we section them off in some part of the sea and feed them corn or some other processed food, they actually become really fatty. That's why you'll see like a farm raised fish is always more fatty and not lean. It won't have the same orange color, and it has less omega-3, 6, and 9s. And you can see that with eggs also. Ones that are organic will be more orange, which means they have more nutrients than ones that are more like light yellow, for example. You can even see it in the food that you eat. So it's very important that we try to control our food supply as much as we can. But the biggest issue with herbalism is just knowing that it cleans the blood, and that it can reverse any condition and heal you. And any condition that's out there can be used can be used with herbs, roots, or tonics.
So not to overcomplicate it for people who maybe don't even understand it all, or I'm sure most people do, but just in general, just herbalism can basically just be said is getting as many kind of fruits and vegetables into your life. I mean, is that one way of kind of putting it, or?
But I would say the best way of saying it, it's a way to bring the body back into homeostasis.
Right. Through the use of natural plants and foods or whatever. Yeah.
Plants, herbs, and tonics are usually the best, or usually the common way is what they call.
Yep.
And it's just to bring the body back in balance, and it's also to purify the blood, because we know that if the body's in an alkaline environment, disease cannot occur.
Right.
So let's knew that back in the day, they might. And
how come Dr. Fauci didn't know? Dr. Fauci didn't know about that?
Dr. Fauci, yes,
he must have missed that day of class.
Yeah.
Well, you saw what happened to our buddy Dr. Robert Young, when he was doing the same thing, basically healing people naturally, and he wound up in jail. So, right?
Actually studied under Dr. Young, and I went there, and I became a live microscopist, so I know him very intimately. And it's really shocking, because if you were to, and I love his work, and that now it's really a shame. He was back in the early 1990s and the 2000s, he was famous. I mean, he was on Oprah Winfrey. I mean, he had all these books sold. He's been Moore College, gave him a doctorate degree, and actually implemented his holistic program into their college. Also, USC was going to do that also. So it's just so funny now. But if you go to Google him right now, they make him look like he's a quack, and he's the worst doctor ever. And, and they discredited the man to down to, to nothing, to be honest with you. And they robbed him of his career. And, it's really just a shame, because if the average person looks him up, then they're going to just think what I'm saying is crazy, and discredit everything. And the reality is that this man's a genius, and, everything he has done has been backed up by science, and not just his own science, but by many other researchers. But
Right.
anyone who gets too big in these industries, they become, they get under the word quackery, or they get discredited, or sometimes they're even killed.
Yeah. Yep. Well, no, thank God. I mean, especially since COVID happened. I mean, he's really kind of been back on the scene, really outspoken, and say, I mean, not to get off topic a little bit, but he even included the stuff with the 5G and, and everything else. So anyway, it's pretty interesting.
I just think it's an important topic, and we'll get back to herbalism, but it's an important topic to realize that anyone who's in the alternative, media or information or healing, and they don't go against the mainstream, then they'll always be attacked.
Right.
And that's a really important message to raise, because, I think going back to herbalism, which relates to cancer, because what I'm trying to say is that cancer could be treated easily by detoxifying the body with nutrients. And and doing enemas and sweating and exercise and deep breathing and relaxation, and you could easily heal the body. But how many people were going to do that?
Right.
And how many people leaving? And for example, when I worked with someone who had cancer, and this individual went to Penn University in Philadelphia, which is a fantastic. And as they were getting their chemo treatment and I was with this patient, in the refrigerator where they were staying, as they were getting their treatment, it said not to have vegetables or fruits because it would interfere with the chemo treatment. Because actually, what did the vegetables do? They chelate. They actually absorb the chemotherapy and all the poisons, and they take it out of your body so that it wouldn't be as effective.
Right.
So they kind of actually, on an unconscious level, know, the nurses and doctors don't know why they're saying it, but that's what's really happening and why they don't want to use it, because it's actually like counteracting with the chemo, which is what the poison's doing.
And that should be like a glaring red flag, right? I mean, if somebody comes to you with, you're sick, we need to get you healthy, the first thing we want to do is make sure we cut out all fruits and vegetables. I'm just saying, there's no rational thought of, if you're going to move forward with a treatment, if it's so intrusive or whatever you want to say, that it's excluding the natural stuff, to make things happen. It's just, I don't know. It's just perplexing.
Well, what this points us to how the medical system's corrupt, and that how, it's not that the people who work in it, they're not bad people. They don't even know that they don't know. That's the unfortunate part. You get taught in school and you go, I have this degree, I worked all these years to get here. So you feel like I'm very knowledgeable and I know everything. And, nobody knows more than me. And like I said, you almost get indoctrinated.
Yep.
And that's the unfortunate part about it. But the people who are really high up, who are creating the systems, they know what they're doing, so
Yep.
Various purpose. But I would say the average doctor or whatever doesn't even know. I mean, if I went to a doctor today and told him that a Nobel Prize winner discovered that cancer can't live in an alkaline environment, or that Dr. Gerson created cancer free, they wouldn't even know what I'm talking about. And these are people who are in the health field, and they're doctors, and they're supposed to be experts in their field. And I guarantee you that if I brought this up, they wouldn't even know what they would have never heard of it in their whole career.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting. I mean, why wouldn't you, let's say, agree or don't agree, but shouldn't you even know that this information is out there?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to speak on Gerson, like you were talking about with the Gerson therapy, the coffee enema is part of that process. And I remember we had discussed before, and you were saying about how the coffee enema, that used to be in the Merck manual for, treatment for cancer, until they came out with the chemo crap.
Correct. It purifies the blood. It's like doing dialysis. So, and then it also creates glutathione, which is a master antioxidant that heals the body. So it does all these medical things. It basically allows the body. It just allows the body to heal itself naturally, and it just helps to be a symbiotic relationship, because that's what nature is. Nature, works symbiotic, and we're just it just helps the body to do what it already is doing,
Right,
and
right.
it that doesn't pollute it or hurt it. Like I said before, if anyone who's been on prednisone or any of those type of pills, you blow up, you become heavy, you become
Inflame, basically, right?
exactly. And I know someone recently who just had something as simple as poison ivy, and what did they do? They took that. They took
Prednisone.
prednisone. Thank you, and
Yeah,
they were blown up.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
thing to do, when all reality is there's some herb or ointment that you could have put on to do that. But right away, that's what we do. What do we do with someone who has a cold? We put them on antibiotics. Well, antibiotics are like an atom bomb in your stomach. You have good and bad gut bacteria, and they destroy both of them. So then you have diarrhea, and you don't feel as well. You feel tired, you feel off, you feel like you want to sleep more, when in essence, if you're sick, you could just do turmeric, ginger, or garlic, and then some vegetable juice, and that would kill off all those bugs over time. And there's many other ways of going about it, but that's just one. But I'm just stating that, like, that everything in medicine is like these big extremes, instead of being, whereas I would say that herbalism is a gentle way of doing things.
Right, right. And to
So,
bring it back to center from where you kind of started, in a sense, like even talking about, cancer, you can use these treatments and you can essentially cure yourself. But even another step beyond that, if this is part of your life on a day-to-day basis, just part of your routine, you're never really going to come to that space. I'm in a perfect world, I guess nobody gets sick, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's so many more levels than just getting sick, when you want to get into the soul contracts and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's beyond, but at the end of the day, if you're following and living that type of lifestyle, you're going to have a lot less, I guess, struggles as far as your health goes, overall.
on these programs for over 20 years, and I rarely ever get sick. And that's the great benefit about it. I mean, every day I make a juice, and I put over 12 to 14 vegetables in there, and I put turmeric, ginger, and garlic, and I juice them and put them in the raw state. And that just allows my body to always, never have an issue. Nothing can ever grow or feed in it, because it's that's what wellness is, and herbalism is part of wellness. It's preventative medicine. It's getting things before they become a problem. So it's something that you do every day. It's a lifestyle. It's something you live, because once you have a problem, then it's tougher. And so that's the biggest thing. And you're right. It's almost so simple in a way. We just have to get back to nature. But everyone in our culture and everything, in our jobs and the people we're around is the opposite. I mean, for example, if you work in a corporation or you work at any job, I mean, they're always going to give you some like birthday cake, or they're going to bring in some pretzels, or what I mean. Nobody's going to bring in an apple or a banana, rarely.
Yeah, right. I know. No, it's true. No, I believe. I'm saying.
That way it is, and I remember I used to work at Atlantic Care Hospital, and the big thing when I was in the health and wellness department, and I was shocked because even in the health and wellness part, like the biggest thing we all wanted to do was go to lunch and eat some processed food.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
sitting all day, I need to move and exercise my body more than I need to eat some just junk food. But everyone was so excited to have chocolate and to eat these bad foods, so
Yeah.
I was fascinating.
And what's really great about all this information, too, is just that how empowering it is to individuals. Like, if you're not feeling well, I mean, like anything, you have to educate yourself or speak to someone who is educated, such as yourself. And but at the end of the day, if something happened where you're sick or you have some sort of condition, whatever it may be that comes up, you don't have to go spending days and weeks and months running around the doctors, sitting in the office, getting poked and prodded and all this stuff. It's like, it's out. You can go to the grocery store basically and go get the vegetables you need to heal yourself, in a sense.
You make a great point, because actually your best pharmacist is your garden or your supermarket. And you're exactly right. And what you're trying to say also is that it's very inexpensive.
Right.
And also that you don't need anybody. You don't need any authority to tell you how to do it. Once you get just a little bit of education, you can be your own doctor. It was Hippocrates who said, only a fool doesn't have himself as a doctor, his own doctor.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And so everyone should be their own doctor, and be responsible for themselves. And it really isn't that hard. I mean, if 80% of your diet comes from the ground, from vegetables and roots and tonics and herbs, you'll pretty much, are going to be guaranteed to have, good health in your life.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
people can say that. I mean, how many people are going to eat a processed food when they go home of some form, or buy something from a store? I mean, the big thing now, even in the supermarkets, is just, buying a quick meal as opposed to making it yourself.
Right.
So everything in our culture is pushing once again, to that style. But, it's really just getting back to nature and getting back to how our grandparents used to eat, which was, they made real food,
Yep.
and,
Hey, they do the
you know,
same thing with the vegetables now. You go into the store, you'll see they'll have a bag, plastic, just say a plastic bag that says ready, microwave ready. They'll have like a bag of broccoli or something. Just throw it in the microwave. And it's like, well, so you're killing it before you even start. That's the thing too. I know maybe it's a little off topic, but I don't think people realize when they use a microwave, what they're doing, how they're killing their food. And poisoning themselves essentially.
Yeah, when you use a microwave, it radiates the food, and then you lose all the nutrients. So that's why, for example, a lot of herbalism and anything doing with a good diet always deals with like 80% raw foods in their diet.
Right.
We want, because food is electricity. So and that's a really important point, because we're electricity,
Right.
and so that our bodies, and our cells and our organs actually resonate at a certain frequency. So, for example, your liver resonates at 50 to 60 megahertz of energy. So if you wanted to eat a vegetable, that would radiate at a 70 to 80 megahertz. So then you're getting energy from that. Whereas if you ate processed foods, a cake, even even meat, for example, it registers at like a 5 or 10 megahertz of energy. So you actually have to use more energy to digest the food than what you're getting.
Right.
And example will be like, if you ever had a big Thanksgiving meal and you eat all that food, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to take a nap. And that's just because your body has to use more energy to actually assimilate and to digest the food than it would if you had a big salad and some asparagus or string beans, or there's a piece of fruit. I mean, you never go home and have an apple and a banana and go, man, I need a nap.
Yeah, right. And then that's a crazy thing too. Is like, I guess the way we're programmed in certain regard is that everybody feels like they're missing something. Like, oh, I can't eat asparagus. That's no fun. Or everybody wants to go out to and listen, it is what it is. We're human, and this world is what it is. Like you're saying, that the 80-20 rule. There's room for give and take. I personally would not tell people to, if you like something, don't have to torture yourself. But you have to be mindful that if you're going to eat that piece of cake, that then you're going to have to compensate in a different way for what you're doing. And then on top of it, like what I'd like to try to tell people is it's okay to have your piece of cake or something, but get a better cake, like at least get something to the ingredients, or, at least, even for myself, like I'm not going to go out and buy Stroman bread or something, but I enjoy some slices of bread once in a while. So, but I'm looking for something that's, not really wheat, or it's not enriched, no enriched flour, so what I'm saying is there's levels to that too. Like I eat the way you're talking, obviously, so, and I don't ever feel that I'm hindering myself. I make a lot of great stuff in just different creative ways. I mean, even stuff like with the, I know the cauliflower pizzas have been popular over these years, but just something like that where you still feel like you're getting a taste, or that satisfaction of what you enjoy, but you're not necessarily just straight up eating total shit like McDonald's or something,
Yeah, that is the sad part, because I was actually at the gym recently, and I was just having a conversation with the owner where there was a new bakery that opened up, and they were just talking about all, the great baked cakes they have, and they always have like cupcakes when I come in, and stuff like that. And anyone knows who's eating that food, it does taste great. But I mean, man, the sugar in it, you can actually feel like the sugar rush after you eat it. Sometimes you start sweating, and I don't know personally.
No, I'm teasing. Some people get the meat sweats, other people get the sugar sweats.
But what's, and then what I suggested to him and what I said at the time was, and I kind of just going back to what we said, it's like, what a shame, because like, he thinks, like, once again, that you can't have those things without depriving yourself. But you're right. I mean, you can use avocados, and you can use like honey, and you can use maple syrup, natural maple syrup, and molasses, and all these natural things to really make it taste just as well. And you can make cookies, and you can make cakes, and you can do all these things that you get from without all the sugar and all the processed things, and you're not missing anything. You can make ice cream out of coconut milk and
Yep.
banana,
Yep.
strawberries,
Yep.
and flax seeds,
And even the avocados. That avocado ice cream's really good too.
yeah, there's an avocado ice cream that's out there. I mean, I think it's made by Cato or
Yeah,
CD.
I think it's called Cado,
Cato,
Cado. Yeah, like for avocado. Yeah.
great one. So that's what I'm saying. It's not the idea that you're missing anything. You're just replacing it with real foods, and that's the real sad part. Once again, everyone thinks that we're so smart and that we haven't been conditioned, but unfortunately, we're no smarter than a dog, and we've been conditioned like Pavlov, and
Ring
we
the bell.
don't
Hold on. Where's
exactly.
Where's my ice cream? Where's my cake?
We have to get it from these processed means, and it was a big revelation. I know there was one doctor who and I forget his name, but he basically grew up where his dad worked in an ice cream store, and he loved ice cream, and then he realized how bad it was for him and how much it was killing him, and he realized all the positive emotions he had from that, and he had to come to terms with that and understand that I can't, just because that was my history and that was my family, I actually have to change that because it was killing him and his health.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't that happening like to Ben and Jerry's too? Like, didn't one of those guys die from the too much?
Oh, yeah, I know one of the Ben and Jerry's was unhealthy after a while because of that. Yeah, I do know that.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you want to eat those things, it's fine too. It's not the issue. But my main point is that you can substitute many things, and there's so many books out there and information, and you can get the same thing, and you're not missing anything. And it's just a shame that as a culture we think we're missing out on something.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Bad part about it, because there's nothing to miss out. Nature gives you everything you need in its perfect way. I mean, think of a mango, for example. If anyone who's eaten like a really nice mango, how fruity and great it tastes. I mean, you have that, or you can have a soda, which is 12 cups of sugar, which stops your immune system, makes your white blood cells inactive for up to 12 hours. I mean, what are the choices?
Yeah, right. That's like, it really is an interesting concept. Well, listen, we're coming up on almost 40 minutes. So, I think we had great discussion here about herbalism and how much, the earth provides. We talk about this stuff. I talk about this stuff too a lot. So it's, it's just great to reinforce it. So are there any final messages regarding this or anything that you wanted to let people know?
Yeah, I would just like everyone to know that nature heals, and that I would encourage everyone to start slowly. And you can start by, creating your own little herb garden at home. You can start by going to your local produce. You can start by making a vegetable juice every day. You can start by incorporating one or two salads, or making sure that you have at least one vegetable. You can also start adding more herbs and spices into whatever you make, such as turmeric, garlic, and ginger. Even if you're not used to doing that, just start putting it in there. Those little things over time will make a big difference. And I would also just like to encourage everyone that any disease that is out there there is already a cure. We're not looking for a cure. I mean, every time on TV, you always hear that, we're waiting for the cure for cancer, we're waiting for the cure for this, and we're waiting for the cure for this disease. But all the diseases all come from the same thing. It's over acidification of the body. So if we get back to nature and start to learn these kind of concepts and ideas, we can heal ourselves. The power is within you, and it just takes you being a proactive person and wanting to start to do it.
Excellent. I'm gonna I know you can't hear it now, but you'll hear it when you watch it back. Be a round of applause for some great information. Hey-o. And like you said earlier, there's a lot of books and stuff out there. And speaking of which, I know your book is moving along into the next stages of getting prepared. I don't know exactly how long it'll take, but it's on its way. So we're definitely going to do an unveiling and all that when here on the show once that is ready to be launched. So and information in the book about herbalism, as well as many other holistic and health and wellness topics. So looking forward to that coming out, so that you, the beautiful people out there, can get your hands on that and can be your own little guide to all the questions you'll have as far as caring for yourself and being. It's almost like a book to teach you to be your own doctor. Like you're saying, people need to be their own doctor. And the book basically contains an A to Z of kind of how to do that, right?
That's exactly what it does. And it allows you to do it at your own pace and at your own time and just to slowly absorb the information. And I think that's really important. So
Yep.
It'll be a great bathroom book.
Especially for eating all those vegetables. You'll be in there a bit, right? So we got Michael Palma here from Personalized Wellness Solutions. His contact information is in the description box below. So you can just check him out and feel free to contact him. And he'll be happy to work with you and help you, guide you, whatever the case may be. So, Mike, I want to thank you so much for your time today and being here on Operation Status Quo. And I'm sure we'll be catching up again with more wonderful topics in the future.
It was a pleasure, and I just encourage everyone to take personal responsibility for their health because you're all worth it.
That's it. And if without you, you got nobody watching your back. You know, it's up to you. So,
That's it.
all right. Thanks, Mike. I'm going to let you go.
You got it. Bye-bye.
All right. Take it easy. All right. There he goes. Mike Palma of Personalized Wellness Solutions here on Operation Status Quo. And that was a nice flow of quo today, wasn't it? So that's the message we're going to leave you with here today. You know, you are the power. You can do it. So just empower yourself. There's plenty of information out there. You don't have to be a slave to the system for your health. You can be as healthy as you want to be, basically. So it's up to you. It's up to you, people. You can do it. All right. This is Pete Palma. This is Operation Status Quo. God bless each and every one of you individually as well as a group. You know I love you and I appreciate your time being here and following along this journey of this show. So, and what else I want to say? Oh, yeah, please, if you don't mind, would you just please give it a little like, give it a little subscribe, maybe give it a little share, send it out to your friends, your family, those you love, and of course, those you despise as well. All right, I'm Pete Palma. Until tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, Operation Status Quo disengaged.